Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing more dangerous than being connected to the wrong person. Who you choose to walk with in life will determine the direction you take. The greatest tragedy in relationships is not divorce. It is spending years investing in someone who was never part of your destiny in the first place. God is a God of purpose. He does not bring people into your life just for entertainment. He brings them for assignment. But when you try to force a relationship that God has not ordained, you will experience frustration, confusion, and pain. So how do you know when God doesn't want you with someone? Here are 7 clear signs. Number 1, lack of peace. God leads through peace. If it feels off, it's not from Him. Number 2, they pull you away from God. A true partner pushes you closer to God, not further. Number 3, constant confusion and drama. God is not the author of confusion. Love brings clarity. Number 4, disrespect and dishonor. A relationship without respect cannot be from God. Number 5, you keep making excuses for them. Love doesn't require excuses or compromise of values. Number 6, the relationship distracts you from your purpose. The right person aligns with your God-given assignment. Number 7, no confirmation from God. If there's no divine confirmation, there's no divine approval. Life is too short to spend it with the wrong person. Who you choose to walk with will determine the direction of your life. And one of the greatest tragedies is to force a relationship that God never intended for you. Many people find themselves in relationships where they are constantly uneasy, constantly questioning, and constantly battling an internal conflict they cannot explain. They may try to silence it, ignore it, or convince themselves that it is just overthinking. But deep inside, their spirit is unsettled. That is not love. That is a warning. God leads His people through peace. When something is from God, there is a divine assurance, a stillness in your spirit that confirms you are in the right place. But when something is not from Him, there will be an uneasiness that no amount of reasoning can remove. This is not fear, nor is it anxiety. It is the Holy Spirit signaling that something is not right. Many times, people mistake this discomfort for normal relationship challenges. They say, no relationship is perfect, or maybe I just need to give it more time. But time does not fix what is not ordained. When you are with the wrong person, there will always be an underlying struggle in your heart. You may not be able to explain it logically, but it will persist. You will find yourself asking, why do I feel this way? Why do I have to convince myself to stay? Why does this relationship feel like a battle rather than a blessing? Love should not feel like a constant war within yourself. The right person will bring clarity, not confusion, peace, not pressure. Some people ignore these feelings because they are emotionally attacked. They have invested too much time, given too much of themselves, and fear starting over. So they suppress what God is trying to reveal. They keep justifying the red flags, hoping things will change. But you cannot change what is not assigned to you. You cannot pray away someone's true nature, and you cannot force a divine connection where there is none. The truth is, when God is warning you, He is not punishing you. He is protecting you. A relationship that is not ordained by God will drain you. You will notice that instead of feeling secure, you feel unstable. Instead of feeling joy, you feel exhausted. Instead of feeling loved, you feel tolerated. That is because the wrong person will never be able to give you what God has reserved for the right one. No matter how much you try to make it work, if peace is absent, God is not in it. You may have good moments, but they are temporary. You may have fun times, but they do not erase the deep unrest within. One of the most dangerous things you can do is convince yourself to stay in a place where God's peace has left. Many people have suffered unnecessary heartbreak because they ignored the warning signs and overrode their convictions. They stayed in relationships where they felt unseen, unheard, and unvalued, all because they didn't want to start over. But starting over is better than settling for less than what God has for you. God will never send someone into your life who requires you to sacrifice your peace to keep them. Love should not be built on fear of being alone, fear of hurting them, or fear of the unknown. Love that is from God will feel right in your soul. It will align with your purpose, not distract you from it. It will push you toward Him, not away. It will feel like a partnership, not a burden. When you force what God is trying to remove, you delay the blessings that are waiting for you. When you ignore His signals, you set yourself up for greater pain down the road. But when you trust Him, even when it is hard, you make room for something far greater than what you were holding on to. If you are feeling uneasy about someone, don't ignore it. God is not trying to confuse you. He is trying to guide you. Trust His voice, trust His leading, and most of all, trust His peace. God bless you. The most important relationship in your life is your relationship with God. Everything else, your success, your peace, your purpose, flows from that connection. And when God brings someone into your life, that relationship should strengthen your walk with Him, not weaken it. But one of the clearest signs that God does not want you with someone is when they start pulling you away from Him. Love should never cost you your relationship with God. If you prayed more before you met them than you do now, if your passion for the things of God has faded, if you feel more distant from His presence since they entered your life, then that is a warning. The right person will encourage your spiritual growth, not hinder it. They will pray with you, not distract you from prayer. They will inspire you to seek God more, not less. But when someone causes you to compromise your faith, you must ask yourself, is this person leading me toward God or away from Him? Many people get into relationships thinking they can change the other person. They believe that over time, they will influence them to love God. But you cannot build a relationship on potential. You must build it on alignment. If they are not already pursuing God on their own, they will not suddenly develop that desire just because of you. In fact, more often than not, instead of you pulling them up, they will pull you down. And this is why so many people wake up one day and realize they have drifted so far from who they used to be. They didn't leave God overnight. It happened gradually, one compromise at a time. At first, it may seem small. Maybe you used to spend your mornings in prayer, but now you wake up texting them instead. Maybe you used to guard your heart, but now you allow things in your life that you once knew were not right. Maybe you used to be committed to church, but now it's no longer a priority. What once convicted you no longer bothers you. That is how spiritual decline happens. Not in an instant, but through small decisions that slowly pull you away from your foundation. And one day you look back and wonder, how did I get here? The enemy knows that if he can't get you to reject God outright, he will send people into your life to distract you from Him. The wrong relationship will consume your time, your energy, and your emotions until you have nothing left for God. And the danger is that when you step out of alignment with God, you also step out of His protection. When you are disconnected from Him, you are more vulnerable to making choices that will lead to regret. That is why you must be careful about who has access to your heart. A relationship that is truly from God will not compete with Him. It will not require you to compromise your convictions just to make it work. It will not make you feel guilty for choosing God over them. Instead, it will be a partnership where both of you are growing in faith together. Love is not just about how someone makes you feel. It is about where they lead you. If they are not leading you closer to God, they are leading you away from Him. The person you choose to spend your life with should be someone who challenges you spiritually, someone who reminds you of your calling, someone who helps you become a better version of who God created you to be. A person who truly loves you will care about your soul, not just your emotions. They will encourage you to stay faithful to God, not pressure you to compromise. But if being with them is causing your fire for God to fade, if you feel guilty every time you pray because you know this relationship is pulling you in the wrong direction, then you already have your answer. God will never send you someone who distracts you from Him. If you are constantly making excuses for why this relationship is okay, despite what you know in your spirit, then you are ignoring God's warning. And the longer you hold on to something He is telling you to release, the harder it will be to find your way back. The greatest thing you can do is put God first. When He is first, everything else will fall into place. When He is first, He will bring the right person at the right time. But if you have to lose your relationship with Him to keep a relationship with someone else, then you are holding on to what is not meant for you. No relationship is worth losing God's presence. Choose Him first, and everything else will align in its proper place. God bless you. Love was never meant to be a battlefield. When God brings two people together, the relationship should be a place of peace, not a source of constant conflict. But when you find yourself in a situation where there is ongoing confusion, emotional turmoil, and endless drama, that is a sign that something is not right. God is not the author of confusion. He's the author of peace. And when a relationship constantly feels unstable, it may be because God never ordained it in the first place. Many people mistake dysfunction for passion. They believe that the ups and downs, the constant fights, and the emotional roller coaster are just part of love. But love that comes from God does not require you to suffer to prove its worth. A relationship should not leave you emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, or spiritually disconnected. The right relationship will bring clarity, not confusion. It will give you peace, not anxiety. It will add to your life, not take away from it. Confusion in a relationship is not something to ignore. It is a warning sign. When you find yourself always second-guessing where you stand, when you are constantly trying to interpret mixed signals, or when one day things feel right and the next they fall apart, that is not love. That is instability. And instability in a relationship is often a sign that God's hand is not in it. When something is from God, it does not require you to live in a constant state of uncertainty. Some people stay in relationships filled with drama because they have become comfortable in dysfunction. They convince themselves that all relationships have problems, that they just need to be more patient, or that things will eventually get better. But time does not fix what is fundamentally broken. If every conversation turns into an argument, if every disagreement leads to disrespect, if every moment of joy is short-lived and quickly replaced by more conflict, then you must ask yourself, is this what God wants for me? Toxic relationships do not start toxic. They become toxic over time. At first, it may seem small, a little jealousy, a little control, a few arguments that get swept under the rug. But over time, these patterns grow. Before you know it, you are trapped in a cycle of fighting, apologizing, and repeating. And the danger is, the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. You convince yourself that things will change, that love is about enduring, that you have already invested too much to walk away now. But love was never meant to be a constant struggle just to survive. A healthy relationship is not perfect, but you do not have to guess where you stand. You do not have to beg for respect. You do not have to live in fear of the next argument or wonder when things will fall apart again. A relationship that constantly leaves you confused is a relationship that is robbing you of your peace. And anything that is stealing your peace is stealing your ability to hear from God clearly. God often speaks through patterns. If the same problems keep happening over and over, if no amount of talking or effort is changing the situation, if the relationship is filled with cycles of hurt and disappointment, then you must recognize what God is trying to show you. Peace is a confirmation. Confusion is a red flag. When God joins two people together, there is alignment. There is mutual understanding, respect, and a shared vision. But when confusion is present, it means there is something that does not fit. Many people pray for God to fix a relationship when God is actually trying to free them from it. They ask God to change the other person, to soften their hearts, to bring healing. But the truth is, God will never force something that was never meant to be. And if you are constantly struggling to make something work, it may be because it was never meant to work in the first place. Do not let fear keep you in a relationship that is filled with drama. Do not let loneliness convince you to settle for something that constantly leaves you questioning your worth. When something is right, there is divine order, there is clarity, there is peace. And when something is wrong, there is chaos, there is doubt, there is stress. God does not require you to live in confusion to teach you about love. If you are in a relationship where confusion is the norm, ask yourself, is this relationship bringing me closer to God, or is it distracting me from Him? Is it making me a better version of myself, or is it breaking me down? Is it a place of peace, trust, and stability, or is it full of stress, doubt, and frustration? The answers to these questions will tell you everything you need to know. God's will for your life is not a love that requires constant struggle just to stay afloat. His will is a love that reflects His nature, steady, secure, and full of peace. Trust Him enough to let go of what is not aligned with His plan. Choose peace over confusion. Choose clarity over chaos. Choose His will over your emotions. Because when you do, you will open the door for the relationship that was truly meant for you. God bless you. Respect is the foundation of any strong relationship. Love without respect is not love at all. It is control, manipulation, or convenience. When God ordains a relationship, there is mutual honor, mutual value, and mutual appreciation. But when you are with someone who constantly disrespects or dishonors you, that is a clear sign that this is not what God has planned for your life. A person who truly loves you will treat you with dignity, not as an option or an afterthought. Disrespect does not always start as something obvious. At first, it may be subtle, dismissive comments, making jokes at your expense, ignoring your feelings, or failing to acknowledge your worth. You may brush it off, thinking maybe they didn't mean it that way, or I don't want to overreact. But over time, these small actions become patterns, and those patterns become your reality. When you allow someone to dishonor you, you teach them that it is acceptable. A relationship that lacks respect is a relationship that lacks God's presence. When God is at the center, love is expressed through patience, kindness, and selflessness. But when dishonor is present, love becomes selfish, conditional, and filled with pride. If someone constantly criticizes you, belittles your dreams, or makes you feel small, they are not loving you the way God intended. Love builds, it does not break. Love uplifts, it does not tear down. Some people stay in dishonoring relationships because they believe that if they love hard enough, they can change the other person. They believe that if they are patient, the disrespect will stop. But you cannot force someone to value you if they do not see your worth. You cannot convince someone to treat you right when they have already made the decision not to. No amount of love will fix what only self-awareness and accountability can change. One of the biggest deceptions in relationships is the belief that this is just how they are. Some people excuse disrespect by saying that's just their personality, or they've been through a lot. But personal struggles do not justify treating others poorly. Pain is not an excuse for dishonor. A difficult past is not an excuse for disrespect. Every person is responsible for how they treat others. And if someone is unwilling to change their ways, then you must be willing to walk away. Respect is not just about how they speak to you in private. It is about how they treat you in public, how they talk about you when you are not around, and how they handle your heart. A person who truly values you will not humiliate you, will not embarrass you, and will not make you feel like an inconvenience. A love that requires you to beg for honor is a love that is not real. God will never send you someone who treats you as less than what He created you to be. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, designed with purpose and worthy of a love that reflects His heart. If you are in a relationship where you constantly feel disrespected, overlooked, or devalued, ask yourself, is this how God sees me? Is this what He wants for me? The answer is no. Many people mistake attention for love. Just because someone stays in your life does not mean they respect you. Just because they call, text, or spend time with you does not mean they honor you. Presence without respect is not love, it is convenience. Someone who truly loves you will go beyond just being with you. They will cherish you, protect you, and honor your worth. If you constantly have to explain to someone why their words hurt you, if you are always fighting to be heard, if you feel like you must shrink yourself just to keep the peace, then you are in a relationship that is draining your spirit instead of uplifting it. The person God has for you will not require you to beg for kindness or plead for basic decency. They will love you in a way that makes you feel safe, valued, and cherished. Do not allow loneliness to convince you to settle for dishonor. Do not let familiarity keep you in a place that is beneath your worth. When God removes someone from your life, it is not rejection, it is protection. He's not taking something from you, He is making room for something better. The right person will not just love you, they will honor you. They will see you through God's eyes and treat you accordingly. God does not want you in a relationship that constantly makes you question your worth. The moment you realize that you are worth more is the moment you will stop tolerating less. Trust Him, and He will align you with a love that is built on respect, honor, and divine purpose. God bless you. Love should never require you to make constant excuses for someone's behavior. It should never force you to compromise your values, your identity, or your peace just to keep the relationship alive. When you find yourself repeatedly justifying the actions of the person you're with, something is wrong. If you're always explaining away their poor behavior or dismissing their red flags because you hope things will get better, you need to take a step back and ask yourself why you're settling for less than what God has for you. Excusing bad behavior in a relationship often begins with small things. Little mistakes, little oversights, little misunderstandings that are quickly brushed off. At first, it feels like it's no big deal. They didn't mean it that way, you tell yourself. Everyone makes mistakes, you reassure yourself. But what starts as a little mistake can turn into a pattern over time. And before you know it, you've ignored so many warning signs that you're no longer seeing the truth for what it is. The more you make excuses for someone's actions, the more you diminish your own worth. When you tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or inconsistency and keep justifying it with reasons like they had a tough childhood or they're just going through a rough time, you are enabling their behavior. You are telling them that it's okay to treat you in ways that you know deep down aren't acceptable. God never intended for you to settle in a relationship where you feel the need to constantly excuse someone's behavior. Someone can't lewd. We've all been there. The feeling of wanting to give someone the benefit of the doubt, to believe that things will get better, to hold on to the hope that they will change. But the truth is, people rarely change because you want them to. Change comes from within, and it requires the individual to recognize their own flaws and choose to make a shift. You cannot be the one to carry all the responsibility for someone else's growth. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much love you give, you cannot change someone who doesn't want to change. Excusing someone's behavior is often a sign of emotional attachment without boundaries. You want to hold on to the relationship so badly that you convince yourself that the wrong behavior is somehow okay. You find yourself saying, they're not perfect, but neither am I, or at least they're trying. But the truth is, you cannot keep making excuses for things that are simply wrong. Love does not require you to sacrifice your integrity, your standards, or your well-being just to make the relationship work. If you have to excuse bad behavior to keep the peace, then the peace is already gone. God calls us to stand firm in our identity and our values. You are worthy of being treated with love, respect, and dignity at all times. When someone continually shows you through their actions that they do not value you or respect you, it's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their lack of maturity and understanding. You don't have to justify their lack of respect or patience because it's not your responsibility to carry their issues. You were not created to be someone's emotional fixer or constant excuse maker. In a healthy relationship, both parties are accountable for their actions. If you're constantly making excuses for the person you're with, it means that accountability is absent. Relationships are about partnership and mutual respect, not one-sided justifications. The right person will own their mistakes and strive to grow, not put the burden of their shortcomings on you. You should never feel like you're shouldering the weight of someone else's issues without them making any effort to address them. The more you make excuses for bad behavior, the more you teach the other person that they can get away with it. They will continue to disrespect you, lie to you, or manipulate you because they know that you will always let it slide. Love does not make room for toxic behavior. You do not need to explain away behavior that should never have been allowed in the first place. True love holds each other accountable. You are worthy of a relationship where your boundaries are respected, where your feelings matter, and where your standards are upheld. If you find yourself constantly explaining or excusing things that are wrong, it's time to evaluate whether this relationship is truly in alignment with God's plan for you. God never intended for you to settle for a relationship where you have to constantly make excuses. He wants you to have a partnership that builds you up, strengthens your faith, and affirms your worth. Don't let fear or loneliness convince you to settle for less than what God has in store for you. You are worth more than justifying bad behavior or tolerating disrespect. True love does not make excuses for what is wrong. It stands firm in what is right. When you choose to value yourself and set the standard for how you deserve to be treated, you open the door for a relationship that honors you the way God intended. God bless you. Trust is the bedrock of any strong relationship. Without trust, the foundation is shaky, and every interaction becomes a source of uncertainty. When you are with someone who constantly lies or is not trustworthy, that is a glaring sign that God does not want you with them. Trust is not something that can be built overnight. It is earned, cultivated, and cherished. When it is broken, it can take years to rebuild, and even then, it may never fully return to its original strength. In relationships where trust is absent, the bond is weakened, and the relationship is built on a fragile and unreliable foundation. Trust is not simply about whether someone tells you the truth. It's about their integrity, their reliability, and their character. A person who truly loves you will honor their word, keep their promises, and be transparent with you. They will not hide things, make you feel paranoid, or cause you to second-guess their intentions. When you find yourself constantly wondering if they are being honest or if their actions match their words, it's a sign that trust is lacking. And that is not how God designed a relationship to function. If you are in a relationship where you feel like you have to constantly watch your partner, look through their messages, or question their motives, that is a toxic and unhealthy environment. A relationship built on suspicion, fear, and insecurity will never thrive. And it will prevent you from truly experiencing the peace and fulfillment that God intends for you. A person who loves you will never make you feel like you have to question their loyalty. They will respect you enough to be open and truthful at all times. Trust also plays a critical role in how you both handle conflict. If your partner is not trustworthy, even the smallest disagreement can escalate into something much larger because you can't trust them to act with integrity. In these situations, every word spoken feels like a potential manipulation, and every action feels like it's aimed at either protecting their image or controlling the narrative. In a healthy relationship, even during moments of conflict, there should be transparency and vulnerability. You should be able to express your concerns without feeling like they will twist the situation or lie to cover up their mistakes. Trust issues can also stem from past baggage, unresolved hurts, or trauma. While it is true that no one is perfect and everyone has their own flaws and insecurities, the key is whether they are actively working on those issues or choosing to remain in their brokenness. If your partner refuses to acknowledge their lack of integrity or dismisses your concerns, it's a sign that they are unwilling to grow or be accountable. God does not want you to stay in a relationship where you are forced to carry the weight of someone else's unhealed wounds. Healing is a personal responsibility, and you cannot force someone to heal or change if they are not open to it. Lack of trust often breeds other unhealthy behaviors. If someone does not trust you, they may resort to controlling behaviors, jealousy, or manipulation. Instead of working together toward understanding, they may attempt to control how you live, who you interact with, or where you go. This is not love, it is insecurity masquerading as concern. A relationship based on control rather than mutual respect and trust will never give you the freedom to be yourself, to pursue your goals, and to grow into the person God created you to be. God calls us to be partners, not prisoners. He wants a relationship to be a place of safety, security, and mutual respect, not a constant battle for control or dominance. If you cannot trust the person you're with, you will never be able to fully be yourself. You will always be on edge, questioning their every move and wondering if they are being honest with you. This constant state of stress and uncertainty will rob you of your peace, your joy, and your ability to experience the fullness of love. Trust also extends to how they treat others, not just how they treat you. A person's integrity is evident in their relationships with others. How they speak about their family, friends, and colleagues often gives insight into how they will treat you when things are difficult. If they are consistently dishonest, manipulative, or disrespectful to others, that behavior will eventually be directed toward you as well. Actions speak louder than words, and if their actions show a lack of integrity, you must listen to those signs. If you're constantly having to forgive someone for breaking your trust, and the cycle repeats itself without any change, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. Forgiveness is important, but trust is not something that can simply be restored with a simple apology. Trust is rebuilt through consistent, intentional actions that demonstrate a willingness to change, grow, and honor the other person. If your partner is not willing to put in that effort, then they are not valuing your trust and are not respecting your boundaries. God wants us to be in relationships where we are treated with honor, where we can give our hearts without fear of betrayal or dishonesty. If trust is repeatedly broken and no efforts are made to restore it, it's a sign that this relationship is not aligned with God's plan for you. Trust must be mutual, it must be earned and maintained. God does not want you to settle for a relationship where you live in constant doubt or fear. Trust is an essential building block of any relationship, and when it is broken, it is difficult to move forward with the same level of connection intimacy, and peace. God bless you. When you are with someone who consistently fails to support your dreams, vision, and goals, it is a clear sign that the relationship is not in alignment with God's plan for your life. God created you with purpose. He has placed desires, dreams, and passions within you that are meant to be nurtured and fulfilled. A true partner in your life will encourage you, push you to be the best version of yourself, and celebrate the vision God has placed in your heart. But when the person you are with continually discourages you, mocks your aspirations, or shows no interest in your journey, it is time to reconsider if this relationship is truly from God. Support in a relationship is not just about physical presence, it is about emotional, spiritual, and practical encouragement. A person who loves you will recognize that your success is their success. They will see your dreams as a part of the collective vision that God has for both of you. They will help you build and strengthen your vision, not tear it down with negativity or indifference. A person who does not support your dreams is showing you through their actions that they do not see your potential, and in turn, they are not recognizing your worth in the way that God intended. Many people find themselves in relationships where their dreams are met with skepticism or even outright hostility. They may hear phrases like, "That's too big for you, you'll never make it," or "You're dreaming too big." These statements do not reflect love. They reflect insecurity, fear, or a lack of understanding. When you are with someone who is more focused on limiting you than empowering you, it can prevent you from stepping into the fullness of your purpose. God never designed us to be in relationships that stifle our growth or diminish our dreams. He created us to thrive, to pursue our passions, and to achieve the plans He has set for us. Some people stay in these kinds of relationships because they fear being alone, or they are afraid to face the potential of greatness. They become comfortable in a situation where their dreams are kept small because it feels safer than venturing out into the unknown. But God did not create you to live a life of mediocrity. He calls you to go after your dreams with courage and to be surrounded by people who will help you get there. When someone does not support your vision, they are not just holding you back. They are keeping you from walking into the destiny that God has for you. In relationships where support is absent, there is often a dynamic of competition instead of collaboration. Rather than celebrating each other's achievements and encouraging one another to grow, one person feels threatened by the other's success. Instead of lifting each other up, there's a subtle or not so subtle attempt to sabotage or downplay the other person's accomplishments. This unhealthy dynamic prevents both individuals from reaching their full potential, and it creates an atmosphere of resentment and frustration. True love in a relationship doesn't simply share in the joys of success. It actively contributes to the growth of the other person. A person who is truly supportive will ask questions about your goals, listen to your ideas, and work alongside you to bring your vision to life. They will celebrate your achievements and offer encouragement when you face setbacks. Support goes both ways. It's a mutual investment in each other's success. When one partner is constantly pouring into the other's dreams and the other is indifferent, the relationship is unbalanced, and the person who is not receiving support may begin to feel drained and unappreciated. Sometimes the lack of support comes from a place of fear that if you succeed, the relationship will no longer be equal. Fear that if you rise, you may outgrow the other person. But this kind of fear is rooted in insecurity, and insecurity has no place in a relationship built on love and trust. God has plans for both individuals, and the right relationship will allow each person to flourish individually while also growing together. When you are with someone who encourages your dreams, it strengthens the foundation of your relationship because both partners are confident in each other's abilities and are excited for each other's growth. Another form of a lack of support is emotional neglect. When you share your hopes, struggles, and desires with someone and they respond with indifference, criticism, or silence, it can feel like your dreams don't matter. The emotional absence of a partner who is supposed to walk alongside you and offer both support and understanding can be incredibly painful. If you constantly find yourself alone in your pursuit, feeling like your dreams are not seen or validated, you are not in the relationship God has called you to. God created you for purpose, not for a life of compromise. He wants you to step into the fullness of your calling, and the right partner will be the one who helps you get there. They will stand by you, they will believe in your vision, and they will support your dreams as if they were their own. If someone is unwilling or unable to offer this kind of support, it is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their inability to recognize the greatness in you that God has placed inside of you. God does not want you to remain stagnant in a relationship that keeps you from reaching your highest potential. When you are aligned with His will, your relationship will empower you, not hinder you. You are destined for greatness, and you deserve a partner who sees that and encourages you to reach for it. Never settle for a relationship that discourages your dreams or tries to limit your potential. God bless you. In conclusion, when we examine the signs of a relationship that may not align with God's purpose for us, we must remember that God has designed us for greatness. He has placed dreams, visions, and passions within us. And He desires for us to walk in those dreams, to fulfill His plan for our lives. If you find yourself in a relationship where trust is broken, boundaries are disrespected, or your vision is not supported, it's time to ask yourself whether this relationship truly honors God's plan for you. Remember, love is not about settling for less, it's about walking in alignment with your divine purpose and being with someone who encourages you to be your best self, not just for the relationship, but for your own growth and success. May you always have the wisdom to recognize your worth and the strength to pursue your dreams. May you find a relationship that nurtures, respects, and supports you as you walk the path that God has set before you. I pray that you are surrounded by love that uplifts, trust that strengthens, and support that propels you forward into the destiny God has for you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I wish you all the best in your journey ahead. Good luck, and may God bless you abundantly in all that you do.